Hello there, the volleyball analyst here. So I just want to do a quick 10-minute presentation on critical volleyball statistics. So the question I want to ask today is, what performance indicators should you focus on to increase your probability of winning sets in volleyball? So this topic is quite a passion of mine because you can collect so much data, but you just want to know which one should you focus on to win matches, because if you're able to win matches, you're going to be able to win leagues and tournaments. So I thought that those who are maybe new to volleyball stats, especially those of the Super League teams who now has access to Huddle, to see what stats you should focus on. So the way I'm gonna do this is I'm gonna measure the skill performance of winning teams, measure the skill performance of losing teams, and then calculate the difference. And then I'm gonna plot it against the difference in sets scores. So the set score was 25-23. That means that's a difference of 2. And this is just like, so we want to see what the margin of win was. Right. So I'm going to plot that on a graph, and then we should be able to see some kind of correlation. But then we're also actually going to test for correlation using Pearce's correlation to see if the correlation is real and did not come about by chance. So the data I'm using is taken from 193 sets from the Women's Super League from 2021 to 2023, and the data was collected by myself in Data Volley. Okay, so this graph. So on the top left, you see the skill being measured in this graph is point scoring, and point scoring it encompasses mainly 4 skills of the tag, serve, blocking, and free balls. Basically skills that you can score points in. Alright. Next to that is the R score. So this is the correlation coefficient. So if you ever see an R score of 0 or 1, that means there's a perfect positive correlation. And if you ever see an R score of 0, that means there's no correlation. So it's just all random. On the bottom, the x-axis, you can see the set score differential, which I talked about, and on the y-axis you can see the performance indicator that's been measured. In this case, there's the point scoring efficiency percentage, which is the percentage of net points won, and you can see the calculation there. So you can see on the graph itself how there's almost a perfect straight line. So you can see how the R score is 0.89, so it's a very strong positive association. So you can see how the team with the higher point scoring efficiency will generally win the match, and then the bigger the difference, the bigger the win in the set scores. Right. So these point scoring, it encompasses the attack, serve, blocking. So let's look at these individually. So these graphs are the same. So with the skill on the top, the R score, the set score differential on the x-axis, and the point and the performance indicator measurement as on the y-axis. Right. So if we look at attack on the top left-hand corner, you can see on the graph it looks like a very good, strong, straight line association so the R score is 0.75, so it's very strong. If you look at the serve on the top right hand corner, you see there's a bit of a weak association, so the R score is 0.17, and you can see on this graph how that's 0, so anything on a minus means that the losing team served better than the winning team. Right, so again, a weak correlation. With the block on the bottom, R score is 0.23, so it's pretty weak association there. So you can see how losing teams will block in a similar way to winning teams. Alright, so you see it at 0.7 and 9. So how come the attack has a very strong correlation, and while the other 2 point scoring skills doesn't? So if we look at the source of points won and lost, you see how the attack is a major source of scoring points, which is about 75%, and losing points, which is about just under 60%. So this is why. So if point scoring is very strongly associated with winning sets, it makes sense that attack is too, because most points won and lost is done via the attack. Right. So if that's the point scoring, let's have a look at the defending skills individually. So these graphs are the same. So for the defense on the top left, we see there's a good trend going upwards. So you see the R score is 0.54. Again, it makes sense because if the attack is strongly associated with winning, to stop the oppositional attack should have an effect too. Right. With the passing, it's pretty weak association, 0.27. Setting with the R score 0.06, there's no association. So it's really weak, and I think my reason I would say for these ones is we can probably get away with, especially with the serve receive battle being important by a lot of coaches. I think especially at this level you can get away with slightly worse in passing and slightly worse in setting, as long as you make up for it in the attack. Right. So what are the recommendations? So the first one is to improve your point scoring performance. So look at ways you can improve that number. So one way I've done it before is I just pick players with the higher positive point scoring efficiency performance. If you see a player with a minus, that means they're creating more errors than the scoring points, so they're hurting the team. So I just pick players that has a positive. Alright, and also you can look at sources where you might make too many errors. So one time I had a team that's making a lot of too many service errors, so we try to do things where we can minimize it. The second thing you do is just improve the attacking performance. Again, do everything you can where you can improve that number. So one way is to know who your best attackers are and tell the set to set to them more often. The other one is that I've used a lot is tipping the ball more, because it is quite highly undervalued. Sometimes, especially at low levels, it's as good as the hard hits, so we should use it more often. Right. And the last one is just to improve your defense performance. Right. So we think about how we can stop the oppositional team, and it could be just picking the best defenders, which I've done before. So when the attack wasn't that great, I just picked the best defenders, nearly all liberos, just so we can stop the other team from scoring. Or you can perhaps adjust your defense positioning where you can defend more balls. And that's it from me. Thanks for listening.